Hello and welcome to the stream. Unfortunately, due to delays, we were slightly late behind schedule due to some streaming issues, but we are up now ready for qualifying for the start of the Porsche RSR league. So currently we have Corrado Ciriello in sitting pole with a 147.6 and Colombo in second with a 148.6. Sorry, I think I said 148.6 twice there. Currently in the commentary box, I have Josh Martin with me. So, Josh, how do you think the race is going to go today?
Well, Thomas, we're at a circuit that is known the world over, built in 1922, so nearly 100 years old, this track. And some of the best drivers out there in the Italian sim racing community at the moment. We've got the likes of Corrado Cuccello sitting on pole. Who else is about? We've got Renato Rivioli, not quite putting a lap yet, and also Ivan Grudello. So there's a wide opportunity coming up here. This car, one that rewards drivers, but can also punish them if you get it wrong. So going to be an exciting evening, Thomas. You looking forward to it?
Oh, yeah, definitely going to be some very close racing. Hopefully, we see
Indeed.
lots of
So
battles.
we have got a 20-minute qualifying session. We are now 8 minutes into that, and then we will be following it up with a 35-lap race. So some real promise here tonight's for round one of the Speed Devils Porsche Championship. It is going to be a very good one. The Porsche itself, for those of you who aren't acquainted with it, 510 horsepower in this 4-litre engine, weighs just under 3,000 pounds, and the drivers will be expecting to hit lap times just around the 147 range in qualifying, and we're expecting those times as well in the race. So, Thomas, what do you think we need to look out for tonight?
Definitely going to keep an eye out for those top runners. Definitely going to be fast pace out there with some good battles, hopefully. Not to miss out on the lower drivers down in P's, down in your 10ths and 11ths. Definitely won't be one to hide away from. They can provide some good battling and battling throughout the entire field.
Definitely, and with this just 3.6 mile circuit, 11 turns here, so not a lot of opportunities for overtaking to the braking zones, but plenty of slipstream going to come into play tonight. So imagine you're going to see a lot of overtaking, a lot of action over these first couple of laps. And of course, a lot of these drivers have been racing regularly. You can race with Speed Devils on a Tuesday night as well, I believe. So there is plenty of experience from these guys, lots of talent indeed, and ultimately this qualifying session is one to watch for. The top two separated by less than a tenth, and then we've got a bit of a gap down to Eduardo in P3. So, Thomas, can we expect a bit of changing from these top three drivers?
I'm not too sure, I haven't been very familiar with these drivers, but Nicola Mura definitely one to keep an eye on. He races currently on a Tuesday in 599 with some really strong pace and I think some good finishes as well. So he'll be definitely one to watch out for. Strangely, going out for his qualifying lap on softs and not opting for the super softs. Wise decision, do you think? I'm not sure whether it's a driver error or whether he just feels he gets more grip with that.
Well, of course, with a high intensity circuit like this, the braking zones are very, very intense on the brakes. So we could see some brake fading coming in towards the latter end of this race. But the risk you run is if you overcook those tires, especially the super softs, then that is your lap compromised. The softs give you a bit more play, but like you said, Thomas, you're going to be compromising yourself with a bit of lap time and a bit of grip ultimately through these fast corners. Of course, the legendary curve of Parabolica, that last turn, one which the cars really need to be balanced on, because if you run even a little bit of wides, you can expect your lap to be invalidated, or even worse, you could lose the back end. So looking through the timesheets, the other battle to keep an eye on at the moment is going to be for that 10th place position. Rounding out the top 10 at the moment, you can see we've got, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers all within, within a tenth of each other. So
Yeah.
a lot going on. Fabio Dina up in P2 has just spun it, so he's going to have to go back to the pits and put himself back in. Same with Vladimiro Colombo in P4. He also put it into the ball. So drivers struggling, Thomas, to get used to this car, do you think?
Yeah, obviously it does really rely on setup round here. You have whether you run low wing and try and get the speed down the straights, but obviously you lose it out of the corners, or whether you go high wing and slightly slower in the straights but safer through the corners. That's a real
Definitely,
decision
and
round here. Oh, and
a
someone's
very
just spun it off behind Corrado. Not sure who that was. But yeah, unfortunately just spinning out on Corrado, getting slightly wide through those top two right-handers, and just dipping a wheel, showing how difficult these cars can be to drive when you're right on the edge.
Certainly, and these drivers will be pushing their absolute limits. Corrado has now pulled out a gap of around 3 tenths, so definitely the driver who is putting this foot down early in this championship for the first qualifying session here at Monza. And just watching these cars, a lot of drivers really struggling, like you say. But Monza is a circuit that's loved by the drivers, especially these long straights give you a good opportunity to get some nice overtakes in. But as we saw earlier in the week with Le Blanchimont real life racing, that turn one can be really tricky. So do you expect something tonight, Thomas, down in turn one, incident wise?
Yeah, there will definitely be quite a few dives down there. Obviously getting a good run out of that final corner will allow you to pull alongside up down this long pit straight, and then eventually getting a dive down the inside. Hopefully we won't have any turn one collisions. Obviously no promise. Everyone's racing and fighting for that win, aren't they?
Well, that's it. First round of the championship, a very important one to make yourself clear as to where you're going to stand. A lot of these guys looking, like we say, to put their foot down and ultimately fight for what could be a reputable title in sim racing. Like we say, we've got a lot of talented drivers here tonight, so there is real potential for these guys to make a name for themselves. It's a championship that takes us everywhere from Barcelona for the pre-season test, then to Monza, where we are tonight. Then we'll have the Red Bull Ring, followed by Highlands, good old Scotland, and then we'll head to Germany, and then Brands Hatch and Spa. So a variety of circuits, but tonight Monza are really going to be the one where drivers have to get used to this car. And Thomas, as a driver yourself, what do you feel the biggest challenge is for this track?
It's definitely the setup. You obviously have those fast corners where you rely a lot on wing, sorry, and then you also have the long straights where you don't want a lot of wing. So it's a really hard decision to get that balance just right. And obviously you have to get the car stopped as well for these really tight chicanes. You've got the first two through the first and second sector, and then you have the last one, which is a bit faster but still quite tricky to get right and have quite a lot of speed through as well.
Exactly, and I'm just following Nicola Mura into that first set of corners. Like we were saying, very tricky to get right, and he actually has gone a bit wide there. So compromising his lap really early on, and that's the problem with this track is because it's pretty much straights for most of it, you can't really afford to get poor runs. Otherwise, you're going to be compromising yourself a lot of time. Fabio Dina, driver who's just been penalised for cutting the corner, and once again will be invalidating his lap time. So Thomas, if you were racing tonight, would you be looking towards a strong qualifying, or do you think the race is really where we're going to see a bit of changing about?
A race definitely, because if you can get through that turn one without causing a collision or being held up in a collision, you can definitely get your way up through the positions and end up quite high up from there.
Definitely, and I'm looking at the lap times just now. So we've got Corrado on pole with a 1:47.1, then Fabio Dina, like we were saying, in second place with 47.4. So just under 3 tenths separating those two. But then you've got nearly a second gap to the cars behind them, Eduardo Lorenzo and Vladimiro. I'm probably pronouncing those names horribly wrong, but what can we expect from these guys in the race? Do we think Corrado and Fabio can pull away?
Judging based off their qualifying pace, looks like those two will be close and will be able to pull away from P3, sorry, not P3rd. They can definitely pull away, but obviously people's racecrafts are different. People can put in a fast lap once, but if you can't follow them up, then you're not going to have a good race pace, are you? So it'll be definitely interesting to see how these drivers fare.
Definitely, and I think we're going to see a pit stop tonight as well, at least. So a lot of drivers are going to have to go on some mixed strategies. Like you say, are they going to run that soft tyre, which will wear out a bit quicker? Are they going to run the mediums? Definitely the slower tyre around here tonight, but could give them the overcut in the race. So a lot to look forward to as we enter round one here of the Porsche Cup at Monza. Like we've said, this is Josh Martin in the commentary box, joining Thomas Brown, I should say. And what's the current track conditions? Are we able to get a wee read on those and see the situation is?
Not currently. I think it looks like a glorious day out there in Italy. Very nice weather over there.
Definitely, it's going to be one of the higher temperature tracks I think that the drivers will visit. I'm just reading at the moment, the air is 21 degrees and the asphalt is 30 degrees Celsius. So grips up at 100%. We're just over 4 minutes left of qualifying here. Still the same order. Not really seen any big changes. Do you notice anything, Thomas, that perhaps we should be looking out for towards maybe the back end of the grid?
Not really, to be fair. Everyone's just trying to get their fastest laps in and have a look at their race strategy. Um, Eduardo Forestieri, I'm sorry if I completely butchered that, but he's currently going out on softs, and his best lap is a 1:48.3. I'm not sure whether he done that on super softs, but if he has done it on softs, that's quite a good lap.
Definitely, and of course, giving him a bit of an advantage coming into the race, knowing how those tyres are going to respond. Just seen Corrado there had another cut, so driver who's now sitting in the pits, he's going to have time for maybe just one more lap by the time he takes into account his out lap. But really, I think the battle is going to be, like we said, for this top 10 position, drivers chopping and changing constantly here and actually looking at positions 11 to 15. Those guys are all very close as well, so as we see, who was that? Was that Alessandro Alessandro, whatever his surname is, has just jumped up to P13 in behind Marco. So
And
Daniel
Daniela,
Pichetta.
sorry to interrupt, Daniela has just run wide through, I think it's the Ascari chicane. He had just one wide there on the entry under the braking zone and just took the car off. He's also someone to watch. I didn't realise he was in the race, to be honest. He also races in the Ferrari and he's doing really well as well. He's got quite good pace in the 599s, which also race on a Tuesday. So he'll be definitely one to look out for.
Definitely, definitely indeed. And like you said, driver going very strong, so he'll be looking to cement that with a good result here tonight. Just looking at Daniel himself, and he's on an outlap, I believe, and he's got a bit of traffic up ahead of him, so that's not going to be an issue. But obviously, he'll gain the advantage of that slipstream down onto the straight, and we don't know how powerful that is yet. So, come the race, we might see that it's a big, big advantage to some of these drivers going to be tucking into the slipstream.
Yeah, definitely the slipstream is a big game here. Obviously, you need to get that pull, and that will enable you to open up the moves down these long straights. One of the fastest tracks on the calendar, I believe, Monza, at least in F1. He runs slightly wide there again on the braking zone. Just trying to push that car, get those extra little centimetres to gain that couple of tenths to push him up the order. Just keep, keeps losing it.
Yeah, that's the risk you run at a track like this, is you have to push the car to its limits, but like we said, with this Porsche, it will fight back, and as drivers who have been competing with these cars recently, we know ourselves just the risk that it can run if you overdo it. So not only the track limits that you got to be careful of tonight, you got to be careful of that car as well. A lot of the drivers, I imagine, will be running at 0 or 1 aero on the back, very, very little, just to reduce that drag and that slip in the air. And we're seeing up ahead now, Marco Noviano in P13 has just gone off, so that'll be the end of his qualifying session.
And someone's just spun out in front of him.
Thierry Frey, I believe that was. So, looking up the grids, I don't think we're going to see any changes at the front, and no. Corrado, I believe, he's on an outlap, but I don't think he's got time to finish another lap, will he?
It will be close. We'll have to wait and see. P4 Colombo is on an outlap, see whether he can improve. Lorenzo has gone into the pits, so unfortunately won't be able to gain any spots. He was just 600ths, just under behind P4. So we'll see whether P4 can gain anything. He's just 3/10 behind Eduardo, so we'll have to wait and see how his lap goes.
Indeed, so those gaps still coming down, and that marks the end of the session. So I believe any drivers that are currently out will get that lap time. Just right on board with Corrado at the moment, and a driver who's comfortable at the front, P2, is in the pits, so I don't think he's going to face any challenges from behind. And anyone else really that's making a move here? Eduardo, like we said, is still out there. He's coming down into the second chicane now, and he's outbroke himself, missed the chicane completely, so yeah, that'll be his lap over.
I believe that was his out lap as well, according to my graphics here. Well, so I think that was an out lap. I think he's just having a quick test on the mediums there, see how they'll fare in the race.
Definitely. So you want to read us through I think this is going to be our final qualifying order, only the guys towards the back that are going to be coming across.
Yeah, Nicola
Don't
Mura
really
just had a slight slide over the bump through Ascari and unfortunately collided with the wall. So that's the end of his lap.
Elira Finn goes 21st, just over a tenth behind the guy ahead of him. So now something we can't discount is the guys towards the back of the field in this race session. So, like we said, there could be a collision at turn 1, wiping out the field, but that's us finished qualifying. So, Thomas, do you want to take us through the order?
So in P1 we have Corrado Ciriello with a 1:47.17. In P2 we have Fabio Diana, I think I'm pronouncing that right, with a
We'll go with the first names.
1:47.4. Eduardo Forcieri with a 1:48.182, just practicing his starts there as he's on his closing lap. And that's the end of the session there. So I'll carry on going through the order. We're up to P4. Waldemiro Colombo in P4 with a 1:48.3. Lorenzo Calogeri, I assume that's right, with a 1:48.474. Just under 2 tenths there behind Waldemiro. Nicola Muro one to look out for with a 1:48.5. Michel, is that right, Josh? There
Yes, I think that is.
with a one.
So Michelle is P7 with a 1:48.7. Behind him will be Guillermo, Ivan, and Alicio rounding out the top 10 with a 1:48.8. Following that, you'll have Thierry and Tony making up the next row of the grids. Then Emmanuel, Marco, and Danielle, that driver we've been talking about massively, 1:49.4 from him. Following Alex, Alessandro, Stefano, Fulva, and Paolo making out P20. Following that, we've got the three drivers of Leara, Marco, and then also Marco, rounding out 23rd place on the grids. And that will be our order for the race here at Monza.
So we'll cut to a quick advert break before we head to the start of the race. So here we are for the start of the race. We currently have everyone's lined up as the lights are about to turn on. And the lights go out and that's someone sitting off the line there, not quite sure who that was.
So yeah, coming down into turn one, we're on board with Corrado Coachella, the driver making a clear statement coming in. Who's behind him? It's changing position left, right, and center, and it looks like they are all relatively clean through. Bit of contact towards the back, though. A lot of drivers going off, 5 or 6, and huge changes throughout the field. Fabio is up to the lead. Corrado is down to P7. So what's happened to Corrado? He's now down to P12, and this is really all kicking off now. A big change as we expected to see through the field coming up to the next chicanes, and Fabio still leads Vladimiro by just over half a second. Will all the drivers get through here clean as well? Looks like it. Nicola Mura just been jumped by Ilara Finn, and they're going side by side, and there's contact between them. Ilara's in the gravel, and Thomas, what a start we got here.
Yes, indeed, as they're all slowly piling through the top 2 corners here. So lining up one by one. Fabio's still your leader up, and that's someone off back
There's a
in the
huge
distance
spin at the
there.
back there. Somebody has gone off. We're going to find out who that is.
Michel Van Doon is off. Oh, and that's a big collision
horrible.
there. Oh, that is horrific crash here. Multiple drivers involved.
Then there's easily 8 or 9 cars there, all being collected. It's all started with one of the drivers going off. I'm not entirely sure who that was. And
we've got Daniel Pashada, Stefano, Michel Van Doon, Tony Pistali. Lots of drivers there caught up in the collisions.
And so that means at the end, as they come round for the end of lap 1, Fabio Dina leads the driver who was started in P2. He's built up nearly a second gap to Vladimiro, and Eduardo Fortieri's up. So if I'm correct in saying this, I believe that Vladimir is actually running the medium tyres versus the softs of Fabio. Is that correct?
Yes. Fabio's running super soft, sorry. Fabio's running super softs, and Colombo's running softs with Eduardo on mediums. Unfortunately, Corrado is down into P21, so he's quite a way down.
And we're going to be seeing a lot of drivers coming into the pits now. Michael Van Doon, Daniel Coachella, like we said, are coming into the pits. They're going to have repairs to do. A lot of drivers going to have to come in. But now really things are going to spice up as we see Eduardo currently in P3 having a bit of a look at the guy ahead perhaps. But he's also got to keep an eye out on the guy behind him of Lorenzo, just 0.7 off. This is really where the strategy is going to come into play now, because if Eduardo can keep it on the track, he could get the jump on maybe 1 or 2 of these drivers. But it's been a dream start for Fabio, Thomas.
Yeah, started from down in P3 and managed to get his way up to P1 there, and it is edging out the gap slightly, currently at 1 second through the Ascari chicane. Definitely must be feeling confident currently.
And the thing we've got to look out for now is actually, I'm seeing that Michael Van Doon is still in the pits, and he's going to be coming out probably just in front of the leader there, Fabio. So traffic already at the end of lap 2, and as we see, Nicola Mura, I believe, has just made Alex Citola has just made an overtake on Marco. That's who that was, and things really spicing up here, Thomas.
Yes, Nicola Mura just behind Marco there by 0.6. And Marco's just behind P9 by about 0.7 as well, so it's very close running throughout the entire field.
And we've just had our first retirement of the race in the form of Michael Van Doon. So the driver got collected in that huge collision at turn 6 or 7, and he is packed in. He's had enough. He's going home just before this Scary chicane there, but gap's starting to appear quite massively, I think, Thomas.
Yes, definitely. Lorenzo looks like he's caught up to the back of Eduardo. I think it was Giuliano who had a bit of a mistake there, unless if I'm wrong there. And allowing...
I'm just watching the front 2 here, and like you say, Lorenzo's had a look. Is he going to make the cutback? I don't think he's going to get the run out the chicane, so nothing from him.
It looks like Valdemiro has also caught up to Fabio a bit, and Fabio's pulled off there. Not sure whether they had a collision or whether he's made a mistake there. Or maybe his tyres are starting to go off, I'm not sure, but he's Giving the place back, and looks like he may even lose another place. Not sure whether he
Indeed.
has. Go on.
So maybe issues for Fabio already. Has he perhaps lowered his qualifying setup? And that's the issue that we're seeing here. The driver on the super softs, maybe with low fuel, having to conserve. He's under attack from Lorenzo, though. That's all that matters at the moment. He's cut the chicane, and he's going to hold that position. But the question is for how long. Meanwhile, Nicola Mura is a guy who's up in the slipstream now, coming into the Ascari chicane. Will he take a look into turn 8? He does not, but they get very close. He locks up, just avoids him. And now Giuliano Gianchino, I'm pronouncing that wrong, is going up around the outside into Curva Parabolica, around the outside, easy as you like, son. Hang out to dry. Oh, what a race we're having.
Looks like he's going for a move back up the inside there. And he's managed to make it stick there alongside. And that's Fabio into the pits.
So Fabio perhaps having some issues, and he's into the pits, and he's going to have to stop for get a change of tyres. Is he going to go for the long run now on those mediums? Perhaps. We'll need to wait and see. But coming into turn 1, we got Gianluca and Lorenzo still side by side. Goes defensive, and now Thierry Fenry in P7 is also making a move on Emmanuel around the inside, and he's outbroke himself, missed that, so he's going to have to get back that position, I think, there.
Yes, just taking it slightly through the chicane, making sure he doesn't gain any time. Up with the leader, Demiro. He's gained a bit of a lead there over Eduardo.
2.5 seconds the gap. Just noticing Fabio has added 33 litres of fuel, so he is going to be going for the long run to the end now. So keep an eye on him. He's down in P19. Where can he come back to after a disastrous start? And Nicola Mura is going up the inside, but there's just been a spin, Thomas. Did you catch who that was?
No.
Just
just seen Nicola Mura just tag Novarino. I've completely messed up that saying. Looking for a move up the inside. Oh, he's made nudge, and that's collision, and he's hit the wall there. And Nicola Mura not giving the place back.
Very dodgy, indeed. I'm just looking down the field here. Paolo Trapani in P19 now. He's slowed right down, so I think he's having some issues. That's let Fulvio Giordano promote himself up to P19. But a lot of things going on at the front here. A lot of dangerous driving as Tony goes up the inside of Ilaria, and they're going to be side by side. Gets through cleanly though. Very nice move from the Italian. And now the gap, 3 seconds at the end of lap 4 here at the first round of the Speed Devils Porsche Championship here at Monza. It's going to be a great championship. Hope you're enjoying it. And Thomas, how do you think this race is going to play out then? Can we see Vladimiro win the race?
We'll have to wait and see. He's obviously running the soft, whereas Eduardo's running the medium, so the tyres will come into it, but they will both have to take a fuel stop. So we'll have to see whether Eduardo decides to go on to some softs or stay on the same mediums or go on to another set of mediums. We'll have to wait and see. But from 2nd to 4th are currently all running mediums.
Are indeed, and Corrado has now made a move. The driver who had that disastrous start is now gone up the inside of Marco as they come into turn 1. He's come back across very dangerously. Marco being sensible though, goes on the brakes.
And he's outbraked himself there through turn 1. So is Marco slightly there.
Both gone very wide, and Corrado's going to actually have to give that position up from the looks of things. Yes, he has. He's got a slowdown penalty from the looks of things actually, and now it's all really shaping up to be quite an interesting race here. A lot of drivers opting for that medium is going to have to run it to the end for this race, and a real championship being thrown up here. As Fabio is going up the inside of, is that Alara Finn? I believe it is.
Yeah.
And now as they come down into the second chicane, side by side, very close, and my camera's just cut away from it. Thomas, take us through.
Yeah, Ilario has slightly outbraked himself, managed to get it just stopped before he cuts across the chicane. He's going very slow, might have got a penalty out of that, but Fabio is cleanly passed and is gaining some time up on Tony. He's only 0.7 seconds behind Marco Novarino, who's had a really good start as well. He was down in towards the back of the grid and he's now up into P15. Really good start by him.
Definitely, yeah. And talking of that start, going back to it, just looking here at who suffered massively. Obviously, Corrado, our race leader, is now sitting way down the grid. Another driver is Michael Van Dorn, who had to retire, and joining him will be Daniel Pichetta, the driver that has been racing in the Ferraris. He's now 3.5 laps down, or he has retired. So that's his race over. Meanwhile, Emmanuel is now going up inside of Thierry. Can he make it stick this time round? Yes, he can. A very nice move for him. P6 further up the points, and with Emmanuel on those soft tires, he needs to push up now, Thomas, because of course every car that he gets stuck behind, that's losing him advantage of his tires.
Yes, definitely. Lorenzo's just fallen back behind about a second to Ivan there. He's on the soft and Ivan's on the medium, so he's definitely going to be gaining time there. Looking through the order, Josh, it generally looks a lot more spaced out now.
Definitely. We're seeing the occasional overtake here, perhaps from a driver going wide, but really the main battle seems to be with Thierry and Emmanuel.
Alex Celiato might have had a penalty there. He's dropped down to 17th. I think he was 14th there. Might have dropped a penalty through the first chicane. Can be really easy to outbrake yourself there and just end up going straight across.
Definitely, and we just had another retirement. Did not see who that was. I think that was maybe Elira Finn, who just had to retire from the race. So I'm not sure what the issue was for him, but that's his race over. And we're already down to, what's that, 19 runners that started this race out of the 23. So Thierry and Emmanuel, like we said, is the main battle going on at the moment, and Thierry's going to make a move, as is Tony actually, Castilli on Marco Canavesi. They're nose to tail, less than a tenth, and he goes around him into Ascari. Here we go, side by side, ducks back in, a little bit of contact, I believe, and that was
yeah, a little bit more contact there through Ascari. I think Marco was going slightly slow through there, may have slightly outbraked himself, but Tony is past now. And it looks like they're under attack from Marco as well, as Marco and... is that Fabio? I think that's Fabio
indeed,
inside.
and they're battling away as well, so a lot of battle going for these guys. Again, just cutting back to that battle with Thierry, driver who has just made the move stick, so he's trading places every lap with Emmanuel, but that's put them under pressure from Alicio Constantino, and he's now 0.3 off Emmanuel. Can we see a move from these guys? Perhaps. Thomas, what would you be doing if you're in Emmanuel's position here?
I would definitely be looking for a way around. He's on the softs, as Fabio is looking for... he's defending from Tony, who looked for a move up the inside down to the first chicane, not being able to make it stick and staying behind.
Indeed, so we've got two separate battles going on here. Just right back on board with Fabio, because he's going to come under pressure into the second chicane again from Marco. Will Marco make the move? Let's wait and see. Into the braking zone, and it does not look like it. So it looks like Marco's perhaps biding his time now, going to go for it again in a couple of laps, would you say?
Yeah, definitely he's going to look for a way past. Tony is on the soft as well behind Fabio, so he's going to look for a space as soon as it comes up. You want to make the most of these softs around here so you can get enough of a gap where your penalty, your pit stop definitely will allow you to gain some time.
Definitely, indeed, and we just see Fabio there pushing hard to build out a gap. He's just cut the track there at the second Lesmo. The problem is with these cars, there's a natural understeer to them, so the Lesmos aren't really a good opportunity to overtake, nor is Ascari. So really they're limited to the straights, and that's why we're seeing so many drivers make that run on the straights, trying to get past the car ahead, and just looking towards the front of the field. Nearly a 6-second gap now separating Colombo from Portieri or Eduardo. And is that going to be enough?
Emuel has come into the pits there. He's changing for a change of tyres and fuel. Can you just confirm that, Josh, if possible?
Yes, he has indeed. He has come into the pits and he's dropping right down the order, but that'll be him making his pit stop onto the mediums till the end of the race now. And a lot of these drivers still to make a pit stop. Just interesting there, Emmanuel's added 77 litres of fuel, which was just over double what our race leader Corrado had to add. Was that right? Was it Corrado? And,
yeah.
So maybe Corrado's planning a second stop, which is really going to throw in the mix, because he has to be very, very quick on those softs if he wants to make any significant gain with a second pit stop.
Yeah, as we just hop on board watching Nicola Mira, he got shuffled down the order, I think, and now he's up to P8. Very good start from him. Catching up to Alessio as well. I think he races in the 599 as well. I'm not sure. He's catching up through the Ascari chicane, not being able close enough to have a look for a move. Just sitting nicely behind him as they come onto the back straight.
Definitely, and a lot of these drivers now are starting to find a bit of a gap as we come across for lap 8 now, lap 9 of this 35 lap race. Colombo still your race leader from Quercieri and Giazzo. Then Lorenzo and Ivan round out your top 5. Fighting for that 10th place position, the last point playing position, if I'm correct, is Corrado and Marco. Expect a lot of shift from those guys, though. They've had to suffer from that start that's seen so many incidents. And like we said, Daniel Pichetto, Ilan, and Michael Van Dorn were the retirements from that already. So perhaps some more retirements on the card, Thomas?
Yeah, well, definitely as the race goes on, people are going to start getting tired, and that's where we'll start seeing incidents, people out breaking themselves and such. People getting tired.
To be honest, when you got a lot of battling going on like this, so for example with Nicola chasing down Alessio, he's going to be 100% on the limit for that whole race, and if he starts to drop off, that's going to cost him massively. With Nicola being on the mediums and Alessio both being on the mediums, they're going to be running that long stint and then possibly switching to the softs, as I believe a passage has been made by Fabio on Marco. Is that correct?
Yes, I think so. Marco may look for a move down into the chicane. Nope, decides to sit behind and have a look down further around the track.
Indeed. So, but Marco has actually gone wide, and that's going to let Fulvio go back through. Is that correct? Or is it Alex?
Alex.
Apologies
No,
that.
it was Marco Canavesi.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ran wide.
And he's actually suffered a slowdown penalty, and he's had to drop 2 places from that. So, he's pulling off to the side here.
He may have some damage or a penalty, I'm not sure. He's going very slow through there.
The risk that he runs now is, yeah, he's down again. So he's down to P18, so an issue perhaps with him, but you're right, he's back on the power now, so whatever issue he's just had, it solved itself, and
as we hop up to P3, it's just a second behind Eduardo now, starting to catch up. It looks like Alessandro Papocci, I'm guessing. Oh, Corrado's up into P9. He's having a good race currently. He's fighting up the order.
He is indeed, and I'm following P8 at the moment. Nicola Mura now 0.6 off Alessio, so that gap staying fairly constant among both drivers. Must be left relatively similar, and all it's going to take is one mistake from one of these guys and it could change the whole order. We've seen how harsh these slowdown penalties are, and especially at a high speed circuit like this, Thomas, you don't want to be getting those penalties. You want to be playing it safe in that regard, but still the drivers need to be on the limit.
As you see, the best lap times here, Alessio is currently at 50.934 is his best lap during the race. Nicola Mura with a 50.989, so very close between those two. And hopefully Nicola Mura can slowly catch up and reel him in. So it looks like Giuliano has caught up to the back of Eduardo, just 0.8 seconds there.
I have to cut you off there because Marco Navarino has just spun the car at that second chicane. He's thrown it into the wall and he's dropped right back down the order to P16 now. So he's carrying some front end damage from the looks of that and really kind of thrown his race up in the air.
Yes, we hop. Giuliano just slightly lost a bit of time through the last corner there. It's still within that second gap, so he will slightly get the slipstream down the straight. Nicola Mura looking for a way past, just 0.6 seconds behind. Don't think he's going to be able to do it through turn 1. And Alex is just 0.2 behind Marco as well. Just following him down the straight to try and get as best run as he can. And I think that's Fulvia there in the background, just having a little bit of a slide through that final corner.
Well, that's the thing now, that the pit window has certainly opened for these drivers on the soft tyres. It's coming towards the end of it, I'd say. So just to give you an idea, our position 1 and position 4 have still both to make that pit stop onto the medium tyres. So we're going to see a change of the lead here. The question is what can be done about that as Colombo comes back out from that pit stop. He's going to have to push hard. Other drivers, P9 Corrado is still on those softs, the driver who's looking to make that 2 strategy work. Tennille and Alex, and Alex has just gone up the inside of Marco. What a move.
Unfortunately, we missed that there.
Just looked like Marco was caught napping there, outbroke himself slightly, and Alex just said, "Thank you very much. I'll go up your inside and take that." So a bit of change position there for those guys. But Thomas, should these guys be coming in to change the tires now?
They should be soon. Obviously, the softs are slightly going. Actually, I think the softs aren't doing too bad. Waldemiro is set at 1:49.7 as his best lap currently, and Corrado set at 1:49 flat last lap, I think it was, as his best lap. So the softs seem to be holding up not too bad currently.
That's the thing. If you're gentle with the braking zones here, you can make those tires last, and that could be the difference between finishing in the point and finishing out with them. But like you've said, we're starting to see some of the perhaps less experienced drivers struggle with these tires, as we see Alessio is going defensive, and they're only at the top of the straight, so he's obviously expecting an attack from Nicola. But will he make the move stick? I doubt he will. So lap 13 now, is that lap 12? Sorry, of this.
Yeah, but now it's starting lap 12 for Alessio.
Indeed. So as they come in for lap 12 of this 35 lap race here with the Speed Devils at round 1 in Monza with the Porsche. Like we said, this car really just a piece of hard work and can reward those who know how to drive it, but a lot of these drivers are going to be struggling for the first couple of rounds, I think. Daniel Pichera still joins the retirement list with Michael Van Dorn and a couple of other drivers. Paolo Safini up in 19th there. I think he's moved forward from the start. Whether that was because of the incident or not, I'm not too sure. But a real mix with the order here at the moment, Thomas.
Yeah, the grid is definitely spacing out a bit now. We're not looking at some as close battles. Giuliano just 0.7 seconds behind Eduardo, not being able to reel him in. And Nicola Mura still sitting about 0.7 behind Alessio. So it isn't too far off, but is struggling to gain a bit of time there.
Definitely. Well, those the timings have been like that for the past wee while now. So, like you said, we're starting to see the gaps die down as the drivers kind of settle into that rhythm now of just hitting those lap times and pushing as much as we can. That gap's still increasing for Eduardo, and of course, every second that Vladimir can pull out, then that's going to gain him massively at the pit stop days. Obviously, he'll be coming out onto the medium tires, but any little helps. And really, there's not much movement at the moment, Tom. It's a bit quiet now.
No, Nicola Mura is still just 0.6 seconds behind Alessio, not being able to gain much time. Giuliano dropping off a couple of tenths from Eduardo. Might have made a slight mistake through turn 1, dropping off a couple of seconds.
Indeed, and I've just received word from the stewards that Alex Chiatola, or Chitola, however that's pronounced, has been given a 20-second penalty for cutting. So to give you an idea, folks, that's going to put him down into an effective P14 at the moment. So he's going to drop only 2 positions, but still quite massively. And really, Thomas, these guys need to be careful.
Yeah, you definitely need to be careful of these cuts, especially through that Ascari chicane. It can be really easy to cut that last part of the chicane, causing you to end up with a not very nice review from the stewards, put it that way.
Definitely, and with this being the first round of the championship, you don't want to be compromising any future runs you might have. You can imagine the scenes for Alex. If he's in a championship fighting position, that 20-second penalty could be the difference between him winning and losing it. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens here. You'll have to tune in with us as we follow the cars to the next couple of rounds here in this Porsche Championship. Like we said,
looks like sorry to cut you off there, but Fulvio outbraking himself, I think, through the turn, fortunately colliding with Marco. Thankfully, doesn't look like there's too much damage. Fulvio losing a bit of time. Definitely a hard one to handle, this car.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Like we said, it's a car that perhaps a lot of these guys won't have been used to driving. It's it doesn't have that characteristic of a rear-wheel drive car where you experience that oversteer, but at the same time, you won't experience the understeer as much as a front wheel. It still does have a natural amount of understeer with it being, you know, quite a heavy car, just under 3,000 pounds, like we said. But it's got 510 horsepower, so it fairly shifts, and you know, a really good car for these guys to learn to drive in, really.
Yes, definitely not a horrible one to handle, but not certainly the easiest. Provides a nice challenge, and looks like Corrado has caught up to Nicola Mura there. Nicola Mura dropped off about 4 tenths there from Alessio. Corrado setting a 48.8 last lap. He's really on the charge on those softs.
So Corrado being the man on the mission, and like we said, with him being out of position from that start with the collision, that's really going to give him the opportunity, apologies there, to move up the field. He's on the back of Nicola Mura, and like you said, with that 148, he is absolutely flying. So will he make a move as we come into the start? They're very, very close indeed. What's that, less than half a second? Will he make the move into Sky, Thomas, or do you think we're going to see it towards the end of the lap?
I think we'll see it towards the end of the lap. He'll look for a run out of Sky and hopefully get it done by the last corner.
And if I'm correct, Lorenzo has just jumped Giuliano up into P3, and
yes, and looks like Giuliano has dropped down quite a few positions. I think he might have got a penalty there through the final turn. He has really slowed down. He's dropped down to P9 there.
both drivers have. Ivan is slowed down as well, and he's now down to P5, and that's going to give Corrado a chance to get in through this traffic. He's going to have to go very carefully, though, because he's very close to Ivan. Do they get through? But he does indeed. So both drivers there suffering, and Corrado is right back up in it now. What can we expect to see from this driver? Alex Chuleta has just retired after his 22nd penalty, so that's the end of his race. And Alessandro Papachia in P9 is now under pressure from Giuliano.
Yeah, he's going to definitely look for a charge back up the grid to hopefully win back those valuable seconds lost from that penalty. He looks like he's not going to be able to make the move down turn 1, just slightly too far behind. But we'll definitely look through it, and it looks like Alessandro had slightly outbraked himself, causing Giuliano to slightly check up, but not allowing too much time.
And now they're going to go side by side as we're coming into the second chicane. Alessandro's going to be on the outside, which is going to then turn to the inside for turn 1. And I'm now following Corrado, actually, who is side by side with Nicola Mura, and he's through, but Thomas talks through this battle at the front here.
Looks like Giuliano has driven round the outside of him, got in front under the braking zone, outbraked Alessandro and got the move cleanly done.
Beautiful, and Tony Pistilli in P14 has just came into the pit, so he's going to be making his pit stop. But like we say, suddenly everything's kicking off now, and Alessandro is really going to be closing up on the back here. But the battle we want to be looking at is Corrado in P6. Actually, he's just dropped off as I say that to P5, and now as they come onto the straight here, the back straight, looks like there's going to be a move made, Thomas. And what can Alessio do here?
He's going to have a look for a move up the inside here.
Alessio has run wide, and now coming down the straight, Corrado's all over the back of him. This driver on a man on a mission here, 0.1, less than a tenth. He's going to be checking his mirrors, Alessio is, and he's gone up the inside. Corrado is up his inside now, and they're going to go side by side into turn 1. Both very experienced drivers here, but still plenty of room for error. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? Corrado's came across once again, and he's made the move stick up into P5. A little bit of a lockup though, and
he's run slightly wide. Looks like Alessio is going to look for a move. He is going to get alongside with a better run out of the corner as they are side by side through turn 3.
This is really shaking up to be quite the battle now as they come into this second chicane again. Corrado's going to have to come across to be defensive.
Alessio is going to have the inside through this turn as well. Looks like he has dropped off slightly there to allow Corrado inside. Very wise move. Don't want to be causing any collisions this late into the race, and especially as you have got quite a few laps to gain your time again.
Exactly, and with who is that just in the background there? Is that Nicola Mura who's closing in on these guys? So a mistake here could cost you massively, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens here. But Corrado, a man on the mission, Thomas, really driving well at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely on the charge. I think he was back down in 20th at least, and has managed to charge his way all the way up into P5 currently. Fulvio has pit as well. He's currently in the pit getting some fuel and tyres. Aldemar Mora has, I think his gap has slightly closed to Eduardo, so his lap times are slightly dropping due to the softs going off. Looks
Indeed, and
like
as we reach, oh, sorry, Nico.
looks like Waldemiro has caught up to some back markers as well. Not sure who they are. It's Marco Novarino caught up to them. Sorry.
Indeed, and as we come to the halfway point in this race, like you say, with the traffic and that gap coming down, you've got to think that the team are calling in Vladimiro, asking him to come in to change those tires, because any time he loses now, it's going to cost him in that coming back out. You have to make
Marco
up
has,
that gap.
sorry to interrupt, but Marco did slightly outbrake himself there, allowing Waldemiro to have quite a clean pass and quite an easy pass.
Well, that's good. Last thing we want is the race leader to be taken out here by one of the back markers. That really just would throw a spanner in the works. But Tony Pastilli is making a move. Meanwhile, Marco, as they come up into the sky, they're going to be side by side. Very dangerous. Less than a few feet between them. And this is really going to be last late breakers. Who's the brave one here? They come across. There's a little bit of contact there. But Marco has lost that position to Tony. And Tony makes it through. Very nice move from him.
Yeah, very good. It looks like he pitted in last lap, I think. I'm not sure, but he's definitely got a nice move there through Ascari. And Waldemiro has caught up to them as well during that battle. So they'll look for a way. He'll look for a way past down the straight to make it nice and easy.
Now, again, it's all shaping up. Marco less than half a second off the car ahead, Tony Pastilli, and he's going to come back up the outside for turn one.
Marco has got this run, obviously, from the slipstream. A break at the same point down for the chicane.
Oh,
Little bit of
contact
contact. Marco locking up.
And that's going to be an incident I imagine we'll get looked at after the race there. Tony just coming across and clipping the front of Marco, but Marco's coming back at him. Tony's gone onto the grass, and that's really compromised him. Or have I got that? I've got that the wrong way around. Marco's gone onto the grass. Tony has got past him, and I think they're all safe now.
Do you mean Waldemiro got past?
Is that Waldemiro?
In the light blue car. Yeah, I think Nicola Mura up in P7, slightly outbraking himself again after gaining quite a it was down to 0.7 seconds there on Alessio. He's down into 1.2 after that slight lock up through turn 1. Waldemiro sitting comfortably in the lead, currently 5 seconds in front of Eduardo still, so isn't losing too much time, but certainly isn't gaining it either.
Definitely, and it's looking really promising at the moment for these guys.
Just getting nice and clean through the Ascari chicane. And Marco making a slight mistake there in sliding out. I think that was Marco Cavins. See, just making a slight slide, allowing the people behind to catch up. Yeah, Paolo Trappini is currently not a lapped car, but having the car on the inside is a lap in front. Eduardo coming into the pits there. Same time as Waldemiro as well. We'll have to see what each person comes onto the pits. And Lorenzo has come into the pits as well. We'll have to all see what tyres these guys go onto. Colorado was looking at a move, and he's also coming to the pit, so all the front runners apart from Thierry have come into the pits. Alessio deciding to stay out, as well as Nicola Mura. They're going to have a bit of space. Looks like Waldemiro has rejoined P5. As we see Lorenzo coming out of the pits in P7. Nicola Mura just behind Alessio again. Just looking for a way to gain some time somewhere. Definitely pushing the car very hard. He's going to probably look towards a pit stop soon. Paolo Trappini still slightly behind Marco. Not too far, may look for a move, slight lock up into the Ascari, not going to be able to get the run out, as well, and is going to have to settle to stay behind. And that's Eduardo has left the server. He has retired from the race. Unfortunately, it might have been a pit issue. Marco going very slowly through the chicane. Might have been a pit issue there, unfortunately causing him to retire from the race. It's Nicola Mira coming through Ascari chicane. Looking like he's gaining a lot of time there on Alessio. Just 0.2 seconds behind now. May look for a move down into the final corner. Alessio looking for the defensive move. Nicola Mira coming around the outside. It's a long way around, but if you can make it stick, that's a great move. And he's just managed to get alongside. They're still alongside through this final turn. And it looks like Nicola is in front there. They're still side by side down the straight. Nicola is in front, is going to look towards the inside for the defensive line for turn 1. They're alongside. Alessio looking towards the outside. Nicola coming across just before the braking zone. And is going to make that move stick for the P2 currently. Giuliano coming into the pits. As we have Alessio just sitting behind Nicola Mura here. Just 1.6 seconds behind, sorry. As Paola Trappini is just 0.3 seconds behind Marco. May look for a move down into Ascari. He's alongside currently as they come under the bridge. It's still side by side. Hard on the brakes. Looks like Paolo's got it up the inside. And that's a great move. Has one slightly wide there, which will allow Marco to catch back up. He may be able to get the run out of the corner. As Marco is just in behind, just couldn't get the run out. Had to slow down mid corner to avoid contact with Paola there. So it looks like Alessio went for a move up the inside, and the space just shrunk down on him and he spun out slightly there, which has allowed a back marker, I think that is, to catch up, which has also allowed Waldemiro to catch up. He's just 2.5 seconds away now, and Lorenzo just over 10 seconds behind him. So we see Ivan 0.4 seconds behind Marco. Was looking for a move up the inside there, as Emmanuel has retired from the race. I'm not sure why he's retired, but it might have been a technical issue there, as Ivan is alongside Marco. Lovely shot of the interior. Can really see what this car is like. As Marco has outbraked himself, he's gone off into the gravel and allows Giuliano to come past as well. And looks like Lorenzo, Thierry and Nicola Miro have come into the pits as well, allowing Waldemiro and Lorenzo to gain those places back. Waldemiro just 1.8 seconds behind Alessio on the softer tyre as well. There's a back marker between them. He's going to try and look for a move as quick as he can to allow to catch up with Alessio and to gain a bit of a lead in front of him as well. Fabio just moving out of the way there for Waldemiro as he comes along the inside. Alessio running nicely in the lead, 2 seconds in front of Waldemiro. And Corrado, sorry, is running 8 seconds behind Lorenzo. Looks like he has got a bit of space up in front of him, which will allow him to lap quite nicely with no traffic in front. He's currently lapping 2 seconds faster than Lorenzo on the last lap, which will mean he will close down the gap very quickly. Looks like the entire grid has spaced out slightly, with Waldemiro being the closest at 1.8 seconds to Lorenzo as Marco comes into the pits. Alessio running strong up here in the lead, trying to hold his own. Waldemiro is catching up very quickly. We'll have a look at the lap times for that lap. It was a 1:51.3 by Alessio and a 1:50.1 for Waldemiro, which is a very quick time there, and has allowed him to catch up very quickly. Nicola Mura up into P6 currently. I think he has gained a couple of positions through that pit stop, managing to overcut the leaders as he comes through that final corner. Just 5 seconds behind Thierry there, who's a good 4 seconds off Corrado, who lapped at 48.8 as well, so he's lapping nearly 2 seconds faster than Lorenzo. Currently the gap is down to about 11 seconds there. Waldemiro just 6/10 behind Alessio now, as we hop on board. Alessio using all of the curb there on the exit as he looks for a way. Looks like he did get a slightly better run out of the turn there than Alessio. As we ride down past the pits, past under the bridge. May look for a move. It's a lot later on the brakes. Wasn't expecting Alessio to brake that early and has to lose a bit of time to prevent causing a collision. Some very good shots here of the onboard footage as we come down the straight. Yeah, lovely view of the rear behind the car. As we see Waldemiro just a second behind through that final turn. Looks like he is going to come into the pits, judging by his line. Yes, he has come into the pits, so that's giving Waldemiro the lead there. As Alessio comes into pits, we'll have to see where he ends up. I think it was slightly in front of Nicola, I'm not sure. He's currently coming onto the back straight. Lorenzo coming down the straight, set to quite a nice time of 1:49.9. He's slightly catched Waldemiro, who was caught up in traffic that lap. Corrado up into P4. It's definitely quietened out a lot more now as the pit stops have come into play. Lovely shot of the front left side of the car, as you can see the suspension being preloaded over these curbs through the on-cambered sections. We're on board with Lorenzo here, just about 12 seconds behind Waldemiro, using all of the curve as he can. So we have Ivan just a second behind Alessio. So Alessio has come out just behind Nicola Mura there, 10 seconds behind Nicola, with Ivan just behind him, and Julian, but just behind him as well. So overall very close between P6, 7 and 8. The rest of the grid fairly spread out. Nicola Mura just 3 seconds behind Thierry. It's gonna definitely look for a move past. Alessio there, just in front of Ivan. Fulvia 50 seconds behind Tony in P10. He's running nice in that Haribo on the front there of that car, in a very nice grey colour. Waldemiro still leading the race. Looks like Ivan has dropped off a couple of seconds from Alessio there, but has, however, allowed Giuliano to catch up slightly. So he's gonna look for a move there. Paolo has caught up to Marco in P12. Getting nicely through the chicane. Paolo looks like he's moved out of the way for P4 there. Oh, and he slightly outbraked himself through that top corner. He's going to allow Marco past, as well as Nicola Mura. Unfortunately, just trying to run as close to the edge of the track as he can. Giuliano in P8 currently, just 1.1 seconds behind P7 of Ivan Giradillo. Oh, Gradillo, sorry. It's a very nicely modelled car, this, as he looks for a move. Just sitting behind Ivan. Using all the curve on the inside, just behind Ivan, having to delay the power due to the faster entry speed through that second part of the chicane. So he's right in the slipstream of Ivan, 0.2 seconds behind. As you can see, he's being really pulled along track. Looks for a move up the inside, hard on the brakes. Might have been a little bit of contact there. Ivan getting cleanly past. Thank you for the position and bye bye. As he already pulled 0.6 seconds off away from him. As he catches down Alessi. Nicola Mura just 1.3 seconds off Thierry. Looks like Thierry has caught up to a back marker. I believe that is Marco Canavesi. I think that's right. So he looks for a way past, hoping Marco will get out of his way so then he can move up the grid and look to chase down Corrado, who is up into P3. This has been a really good drive by Corrado. He was down towards the back of the grid and is currently sitting in P3. Currently down to only 14 drivers now in the race, as we are over halfway, only 10 more laps to go. As we go through down the grid, we have Colombo leading the race as he now comes onto his 25th lap. Lorenzo in second, Corrado in third, Thierry Frey in fourth, Nicola Mira just behind him in fifth, Alessio and Giuliano in P6 and 7, Ivan, Alessandro and Tony in P8, 9 and 10, Fulvia in P11. So it looks like Lorenzo is looking for a way past Marco in P12. He's been running a very great race this race. Second Marco Navarino in P13, just behind him, 0.7 seconds behind, and Paolo Trappini in 14th. As we watch Marco here, sitting just behind Canavesi, looking for a way past. He might look for a move down into the chicane. Doesn't look like he's close enough for the move down into the chicane. Nicola Mira just in front of those as well, just slightly behind Thierry. Looks like he's gaining quite a lot of time. He was just over a second faster that last lap. Oh, Marco has speared off. He might have had a snap there into the wall. Has lost the position to Paolo, and has unfortunately, looks like he suffered a bit of damage there as he lets Giuliano pass. And Ivan pass as well. Looks like Ivan has dropped off a little bit. Nicola Mira just 0.6 seconds off of P4 now. Has very closed the gap up onto Thierry. Still a bit of a way, hopefully going to make a good run out of this final corner. It's definitely caught up under the braking zone. Get on the power early to get a nice run out. Has gained about 0.1 of a second. Using all that exit curb, make sure you can get the best run out you can. Not going to be close enough to make a move currently. As Thierry comes down into the braking zone. Nicholas just behind him. Just seeing he's managing to stay just in range of Nicola Mira. Sorry, Nicola Mira is managing to stay in range of Frey. Just 0.5 seconds, getting a nice run out through the chicane. Looks like Marco Cavendish is who it was. He's just behind Nicola Mira as well. He's got a couple of people behind him as well. That is Paolo, I think, just behind him, yeah. Followed by Alessio. He's going to hopefully let Alessio by, and who can hopefully catch up to Nicola Mira. He's just behind Thierry still. 0.3 seconds now. He's going to, hopefully with a good run out of the corner, slight cut there. He's hopefully going to have a look down the straight. He's going to stay in the slipstream, try and get as much toe as he can. So he looks for a move, not going to be able to be alongside, so he's going to back out and look for a move on the exit of the final turn. Just 7 more laps to go. As they come down the pit straight, 0.3 seconds behind, not going to be close enough to make a move. 0.2 is going to have a quick look, not going to be enough space there. Looks like Thierry did lock up slightly, has enabled Nicola to gain quite a lot of time. Corrado has caught up very quickly to Lorenzo, as we see just under 2 seconds behind Nicola Mira, looking for a way past. 0.2 seconds before we come into the chicane. Looks for a move, not going to be there. Slight lock up, sits right behind Thierry. Looks going to sit behind. Looks like he's going to sit behind for the next couple of turns. Very hard to get a move done there. And we'll have a look through for a move down through the Ascari chicane. Going to use all of the entrance, hit that curve on the inside, use all of the exit curve right, as fast as you can. Sit in the slipstream. Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to be able to catch up through the chicane. He has been faster through the chicane than Thierry on the previous laps. Uses that entry curve, hits that inside apex perfectly. Does a slight cut again across there, again through that last part of that chicane. Is unfortunately not going to be able to make the move stick, and he's going to have to stick behind for another lap. Thierry has slightly locked up there through turn 1. Is going to be able to hold on. Sorry. Paolo Tribbiani is behind Marco here, just 0.5 seconds behind, as they start their 28th lap. Just 0.6 seconds, and looks like Thierry has made a mistake there, locked up through turn 1. Nicola Mira allowed to get past up into P4. Corrado just 1 second behind P2. As we come back to the battle between Nicola and Thierry. Looks like Thierry has dropped off to 0.5 seconds behind Nicola. Not going to be able to make a move through the chicane. Has gained a slight bit of time though. Nicola, slight lock up on the brakes, slightly run wide. Is going to hold it though through the top 2 corners. Thierry is... Oh, and Nicola's lost it. He's managed to just avoid the wall there. Managed to not clip the wall. Has lost a lot of time though. Just 2 seconds to Thierry from that mistake. As we hop on board with Thierry. Very nice shot as they come onto the straights. He's going to look for a move on Lorenzo. Lorenzo going to take the defensive line. Going to make Corrado go round the long way round. He's currently alongside. They're alongside along the final straight. They're still alongside down the straight. They are neck and neck down the straight as we come just over the line. Lorenzo is going to have the inside for the first part of the chicane. Corrado will have this inside for the second if they can keep it too wide through here. Corrado both breaking down at the same point. Corrado making a very nice move around the outside. Lorenzo is going to have a bit faster exit with Corrado having a bit of a slide. Lorenzo sitting nicely behind, going to look for a move up the inside through this long right-hander. Going to cause Corrado to stay on the outside, however is going to stay on the inside for this next chicane. As they're running side by side down under the bridge, hard on the brakes. As Corrado is up on the inside, to still side by side, slightly come across the front of Lorenzo there and manages to make the move done and stays into P2 with a 17-second gap up onto Waldemiro. Lorenzo still not backing out, however, as Marco has caught up to Fulvio and has managed to pass, I believe. Paolo may have made a mistake out of the chicane and has managed to get up in front. Lorenzo just over 1 second behind Corrado, who's slowly pulling a lead on Lorenzo, currently opened up to about 1.1 seconds. Waldemar coming through the final corner has a very comfortable lead as he comes onto the 30th lap. Only 5 more left in this race. Lorenzo 0.9 seconds behind. He will hopefully try and catch up to the back of Corrado and look for a move over the next 5 laps. Paolo just behind Marco, 0.1 seconds. Will look through a move up the inside through the Ascari chicane. Marco has slightly shut the door as Paolo was slightly earlier on the brakes. Has got the run out of the line, has run very wide through there and has lost a lot of time, however, and has allowed Marco to pull a 1.3 second gap. Nicola Mira sitting 1.4 seconds behind Thierry, and lapping about the same lap times. It was 0.2 faster that lap. Slowly reeling him in. He's only 1.3 seconds behind now with only 5 more laps to go. Will he be able to pull up the... Will he be able to bring more pace and hopefully bring up to... and hopefully catch up to Thierry? We will have to wait and see. Lorenzo dropping off to about 1.4 seconds behind Corrado. She's not on the exit. Dubraz runs slightly wide there. Lorenzo looks like he lost a bit of time on the exit there. Nicola Mira caught up 0.9 seconds there behind Thierry. Looking for a way to catch up. Looks like he has sustained a bit of damage. Doesn't seem to be affecting him too badly though, so it may only be minor damage. Comes through that corner. Is unable to gain much time down the straight. Is just close enough for the slipstream, however it's not close enough for him to pull him along and make a move. Lorenzo dropping down to 2 seconds behind P2 of Corrado. He's running a really good race. Nicola 0.7 seconds behind Thierry. And looks like Alessio is catching up slightly. Did run slightly wide out of this Ascari chicane. Giuliano just behind them as well. Mira just 0.7 seconds behind as they come on to the pit straight. So overall through this race, as we come on to lap 31 for Nicola Mira, overall it's been a very close race in this Speed Devils Porsche 911 RSR race. At round 1 at Monza, it looks like he has slightly outbraked himself there, able to get it stopped, however, and not lose too much to Thierry. Has allowed Alessio to catch up, however. Ivan has dropped off a lot from Giuliano. He's currently 14 seconds behind. Alessio just behind Ivan, 5 seconds behind Ivan. As we come back to the leader coming down the pit straight. He's had a pretty clean race throughout the entire thing. Hasn't had much trouble, managed to get out in front, get past Eduardo. Hasn't been able to drive away so far. Comes through the final corner nice and clean. Just looking to finish the race clean and not make any mistakes. Nicola coming down the pit straight. pit straight, sorry, the back straight. He does like to take a lot of entry curb there, using all the track. As Thierry's just 0.6 seconds in front. Paolo is down in P13. Has locked up, however, through the Ascari chicane. Has had to ball into the gravel. Has lost a considerable amount of time. Marco has gained quite a lot of time there on Paolo. Looks like I think that was Ivan behind. Yeah, that was Ivan behind Marco Navarino, who is a lapped car currently, or will be if Ivan gets past. Lorenzo dropping off 4 seconds there off Corrado. Very nice suit and helmet there. Looking very smart in the car. Camera 0.7 seconds off. Looking for a move on Thierry. Not being able to gain much time on him, as he's 0.8 seconds, losing 0.6. He's gained a little bit through there. Ivan is in quite a lot of space and he's driving his own race, trying to take it towards the end. Hopefully try and keep it clean and finish home with 8th. Alessio just behind in 9th. Is just 6 seconds behind. As we see Nicola Mira 0.3 seconds down the straight. Is he going to look for a move on Thierry? He goes towards the inside. He's just alongside, managed to get to the inside. And there's contact. There's contact between Nicola and Thierry. Nicola, unfortunately, coming off Wells, colliding with the inside barrier, and has been sent off wide, trying to avoid the barrier. Allows Alessio to come past, and potentially Giuliano, as he has got the run on Nicola down the straight. It's just 0.7 seconds. Is considerably faster currently. He's about 10 kilometers faster. As he looks for a move. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to. He looks for the inside, isn't the space. Nicola Mira slowly outbraking himself there under the braking zone through turn 1. Hasn't been his last 2 corners there. He's dropped down 2 positions just from a couple of corners and a couple of mistakes. Unfortunately, having a collision with a wall may have sustained some damage there. Unfortunately, it's been dropped down to P7. Is going to look for a way past Giuliano though, just 1.1 seconds behind. Alessio 2.5 seconds behind Thierry. Slowly reeling him in. Thierry 30 seconds off P3, isn't going to be able to catch up to Lorenzo anytime soon, unless if there is a mistake. Vladimiro is on his final lap of this 35 lap race. Looks like Corrado has been catching up slightly, but isn't going to have the legs to be able to catch up. Vladimiro catching up to the back marker of Power Hertz. Not sure who that is. That has caught up. I believe that's Tony actually, yeah. Has caught up to the back of him. As he gets the move nicely done through that chicane. Alessio just 1.8 seconds coming on to the final lap. Sitting nice in P5. As he comes down the straight, he's going to have to pull off something major to be able to catch up in this final lap. Looks like unless if a driver makes a mistake, this is going to be your ended up standings. Nicola Mira 1.3 seconds behind Giuliano, so could potentially get past in this final lap. As he comes cleanly through the chicane, 1.4. Vladimiro coming onto the final straight. onto the back straight, sorry. As he looks like he's got just one more turn, the final turn. Gets through nice and cleanly, taking it nice and slow. Gets a nice exit. And that's a race victory there for Waldemiro. What an excellent drive with starting, yeah, I think it was P2 or P3, and ended up winning the race. Corrado coming through the final turn. Unfortunately not being able to catch up, but has driven an exceptional race. Nicola Mira 1 second behind, is going to have to go for a major dive if he's going to gain any spots. Doesn't look like it's going to happen in these final corners. Lorenzo coming up to the line, finishing P3. Yeah, doesn't look like, Nicola Mira is 26 seconds, but it is too late to gain the place, unless if he makes a mistake. So yeah, Nicola Mira finishing P7. So currently you have Waldemiro as your P1, Corrado P2, Lorenzo in 3rd, Terry in 4th, Alessio in 5th, Giuliano 6th, Nicola Mira 7th, Ivan just coming along across the line now for 8th place, Alessandro finishing in 9th, Fulvio has stopped. So that is your race results. Overall, a really good race in the season for Monza for your first race. Very close racing, ending up with lots of finishes and lots of close battles. So as you see here, here is the race calendar for the season. We will be back here on the 8th of May at the Red Bull Ring. Certainly going to prove some good racing